My name is Margaret Louise Avery, and I am 91 years old. I have outlived my parents, my husband, my brothers, and nearly everyone who knew the girl I used to be. But there is one person I never expected to outlive. One person whose name I have carried inside me for more than 70 years. His name was Thomas Hale, and he disappeared in the blizzard of 1939. When I was 16, the world was small. Not because Wyoming is small. Wyoming is bigger than a heart can hold. But because my life was tucked inside a valley that winter swallowed whole. Our town had fewer than 100 people back then. Snowbanks often climbed higher than the windows. We lived by the moods of the weather in the mercy of the sky. Thomas was 17 when he moved into the cabin across from ours. His father had died the year before in a railway accident, and his mother, frail, pale, and always coughing, brought him to Wyoming to start fresh, though what that meant for a grieving family I still don't know. Thomas was quiet, reserved, but not shy. It was the quiet of someone who carried too many thoughts and not enough people to share them with. He rarely laughed, but when he did, it was soft, like he was afraid the sound might break something delicate. We became friends out of proximity at first. Our cabins were close and our chores often overlapped. We hauled firewood together, fed animals, fixed fences the wind had torn apart. Little by little, silence turned to conversation, and then conversation, slowly, gently, turned to something else. People ask me what love feels like at 16. I tell them that love at that age is like waking up to sunlight for the first time. Everything becomes new. Every breath feels like a revelation, and every moment with that person feels like it is building toward a future you can almost touch. Thomas had a way of looking at me as if he were memorizing me. Sometimes he would say, "You make the winter feel less cold," and I would pretend I didn't understand, even though I felt the same. One evening, in early December, when the first real storm of the season was building, we sat near the fire in my family's barn. Snow rattled against the boards, horses stomped at the cold, and Thomas, sitting close enough that our shoulders nearly touched, turned to me and said something I would never forget. "Margaret, there's something I have to tell you." His voice trembled. But before he could speak further, the barn door burst open and my father called me inside. Thomas stood, nodded, and said, "Tomorrow. I'll tell you tomorrow." But tomorrow did not come. That night, the blizzard struck, one of the worst in living memory. Snow fell so fast it buried fences and erased footprints within seconds. The wind howled like a living creature, hungry and merciless. Entire barns collapsed under the weight of the storm. People prayed, people panicked. And in the middle of that white chaos, Thomas vanished. His mother woke to find his bed empty, the front door slightly cracked open, snow drifting inside. Men from the town searched for days, lanterns bobbing like tiny stars against the endless white. They found nothing, not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, not a clue. The snow had swallowed him whole. Everyone said he must have wandered into the storm half asleep and lost his way. Everyone said no one could survive wind like that. Everyone said the mountains had claimed him as they had claimed many before him. Except me, because Thomas would never have left without telling me what he needed to say. And he would never have walked into a storm like that willingly. For weeks I searched alone, long after others gave up. I walked with numb feet, frozen fingers, and a wild, desperate hope. I whispered his name into the trees, into the wind, into the silence. No answer came. Winter turned to spring, Spring turned to years, and eventually, a terrible truth settled into me. I mourned a boy without a body. I mourned a future without a name. And I mourned the words he never told me. At 24, I married a good man named Joseph. He was kind, dependable, steady in the way Wyoming men often are. He knew I carried a ghost in my heart, but he never asked me to let it go. We had 3 children, then grandchildren. My life with him was full of warmth, laughter, and a calmness I learned to cherish. But there were nights, quiet nights, when the wind sounded too much like the blizzard of 1939 that I would wake and swear I felt Thomas's presence beside me. Life moved on, as life always does. Joseph died at 70. My children grew old. The town changed. Roads were built. People left. People came. And then, 50 years after he vanished, the mountains gave back a piece of him. It was summer of 1989. A group of hikers found a rusted metal box wedged between rocks near an old mining trail, an area that was inaccessible during the 1930s winters. Inside the box were a wool scarf, a pocket knife with Thomas's initials, a small ledger, and a letter addressed to me. My hands shook so violently the sheriff had to help me unwrap the bundle. The ledger contained entries, short, broken, frantic, written in his handwriting. I heard them outside the cabin. I can't let them find her. They said I knew something. They followed me into the woods. I have to keep Margaret safe. If she ever sees this, she'll know why I ran. And finally, I will try to reach the old mine if I can hide until the storm passes. Maybe. The sentence ended abruptly. The letter, though faded and fragile, was miraculously intact. Margaret, if you are reading this, I am either dead or far from where I meant to be. I did not walk into the storm by mistake. I ran into it, not from fear, but to protect you. Your father discovered something about the railway ledgers, something dangerous. He trusted me with the truth, but others knew I knew. They came for me that night. I could not risk them coming for you or your family. I left because staying meant putting you in danger. I wanted to tell you everything. I wanted a life with you. But loving you meant leaving you. If I survive, I will find you again. If I don't, know that my last thought was your name. I read the letter over and over, tears falling like the snow of that winter. He hadn't abandoned me. He hadn't wandered off. He hadn't been foolish. He had run into the storm to protect me. The truth both healed and shattered me. For the first time in 50 years, I understood the final look he gave me in the barn, the weight in his voice, the urgency. He was trying to save me. The hikers never found remains, only the box, only the letter, only the truth he never got to speak. But the mountains, they keep their secrets, and sometimes they reveal only what you're ready to carry. I placed his letter inside my Bible, where it has stayed ever since. And every year, on the anniversary of the blizzard, I walk to the ridge overlooking the valley. I stand there, letting the wind bite my face, and I whisper into the cold, I know why you left, and I forgive you. Some loves never end. Some stories take a lifetime to understand. And some secrets, buried under snow, wait decades for the sun to finally touch them. That is my story. The story of a boy the storm tried to erase, and the truth that brought him back to me.